Welcome here today, ladies and gentlemen, to another post-race analysis video for today's Michigan race. Now, I thought it was a pretty solid race in total. We're going to go over what happened, Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3, over the course of the race, my thoughts and opinions on it as well, and we'll take a look at the finishing results and how the fantasy team did here today. So again, sorry for a brief predictions video earlier today. Did not get the full fantasy live scoop that I wanted to give, nor could I have the research for it throughout the course of the week because my phone was broken. Luckily, it is fixed. I have a new one now. We're good to go. I got a laptop coming in on Thursday. It'll be finally here in the mail, so there will definitely be some upgrades at the channel in that sense. So hopefully we get through this pretty well. And again, yeah, we're going to go over the race. I was also supposed to have a power rankings video that I was hoping was going to get out today. But again, because I was stuck at Verizon for 4 hours earlier today, I just could not get home in time to do both videos without it rushing. And I had to rush one as it was anyway, so that was all I was able to get up. So next power rankings video will be out middle of next week after the conclusion of both Michigan races. So sorry for that, but we should be good to go back on track as well. So without further ado, we're going to hop into this Michigan race. So it was a race that was pretty much dominated by Kevin Harvick. He definitely had the fastest car throughout the course of the race. He won both of the earlier two stages in the race, but not without a little bit of hardship at that. Obviously, clean air was playing a factor with the leader, but it wasn't impossible to pass the leader. We saw Logano leading laps at the beginning of the race after starting on the pole. Battle with Hamlin for the lead there for a little bit before the competition caution had come out. We got to the end of stage one. Harvick was able to obviously get around Logano. Once Logano lost that clean air, he started dropping back like a rock, and he was basically a non-factor from that point on the rest of the day. He scored 0 stage points, so tough break there for Joey Logano and Logano fans out there. Again, Kevin Harvick won stage one. He won stage two, as I predicted in the fantasy team. I could not put him in the fantasy lineup because I used him too many times this year, but he did score me points nevertheless. He's been the king at Michigan. He's won 3 of the last 4 races because he was able to get to victory lane here today. Ryan Blaney had a fast car most of the day. Also, Blaney led some laps in stage number 2. Harvick was able to get around him with about 10 to 15 laps to go. If Harvick lost the lead, he was definitely able to pass cars back. He, at one point in time, made one heck of a move. He went to the inside to pass a car for second place. And then in that very next corner, I believe he passed Denny Hamlin for the lead. I think that was back in stage 1. He went from third to first in 2 laps in 2 separate corners. How he kept the momentum up, I don't even know. Harvick, again, class of the field. He's going to be tough to beat tomorrow in that race. But along with that, there were a couple accidents later in the race in stage 3 that definitely spiced some things up. It looked like it was going to be a fuel mileage race there for a little bit until we started getting caution after caution with about 25 to 30 laps to go on in. We never really had a green flag run longer than 6 or 7 laps at that point on. Crazy restarts throughout. We saw a 5 wide restart very late in the race, the second to last restart. We saw 4 wide restarts, especially mid-pack. There was at one point it looked like Bubba Wallace might have been able to get to the lead. He went 3 wide up the middle, didn't quite pan out for him in second place, lost a few spots. I think he still finished inside the top 10, so a great run for him. Definitely some up-and-comers. Christopher Bell was in the top 5 a lot throughout the course of the race until those late race restarts. He ended up fading back. Penske cars had a different pit strategy that I didn't think was going to work out. They took 4 tires under pit stop, lost a lot of track position. They all got back into the top 10 by the end of the race, nevertheless, because of all the cautions and having great restarts. There was a late race restart, too. It wasn't the last one. I believe it was the third to last restart with about 13 laps to go. Chase Elliott was in 5th place because, remember, they used the choose cone rule for this race. So he was in 5th place, and the top 4 took the outside. It was Harvick and then 3 JGR Toyotas behind him. I believe it was Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, and Mark Truex Jr. Not sure exactly what the order was, but I think those were the 3 drivers. And Chase Elliott, who was in 5th, decided to take the inside. Why not? I'll start on the front row. It's better than starting 5th in line on the outside. And boy, did that pan out for him. He got the push on the inside line, was able to clear Harvick, and was actually leading until the next caution. But he could not stay in front of Harvick under the second caution because Harvick did the same thing that Elliott did to him as he was able to get a push from behind on the inside. The inside line was good on the restart when you got a good enough push, and the lead car was able to get around, but if you were second in line, whether you gave the push or not, you were going to fade back. If you would have pulled out a line to go 3 wide, You were likely both cars that restarted on the bottom in the first and second row would have lost ground because there would have been a lot of side drafting and not as much room on the inside of the racetrack, plus the middle with going 3 wide for the lead there. But again, crazy restarts as we usually see at Michigan with this package, of course, that we usually see with the 550 horsepower on these intermediate racetracks. Definitely cause for some great racing. And great racing on the long green flag runs, too. Like I said, you could pass very well. This was a very unique Michigan race compared to recent years. I know when I've been going at the track, it seems like the track has had a lot more grip, especially last season. With this rules package, they moved the PGA 1 up more towards the outside groove only, so that way the middle and the bottom, neither one of those two had PGA 1 instead of just the bottom. It went from pretty much a 2-groove track to a 3-groove track, and that really widened out the racing quite a bit. The lack of rubber, obviously, too. We had one truck race, but again, no practice time for any series, so outside of that 100-lap truck race, there was no rubber on the track, but it was more so than a green racetrack in that aspect because there was no rain overnight either. There shouldn't be a competition yellow in tomorrow's race. There should be more rubber laid down. I don't believe it's supposed to rain and wash out the rubber tonight either. So that'll be a little bit different of a race, I think, is what you're going to see tomorrow. We'll get more into that in the predictions video. And again, Kevin Harvick got the win. He dominated. He definitely had the fastest car. It looked like whoever was on the inside on the restart could have gotten to the lead, but if it was only a matter of time. If Harvick had more than 2 or 3 laps to get back around you, he was going to get back around you. Really came down those last 2 restarts because the second to last restart came with 3 to go, and then we had an accident with Austin Dillon and Ryan Newman a little further back in the pack on the restart coming to 2 to go. So that's what set up the overtime finish. So we actually ran 161 of the 156 scheduled laps. It was a shortened race, 312 miles. Same thing with tomorrow as well. So, yeah, let's take a look at the finishing results and see how the fantasy team did because, boy, was it a great race, in my opinion. Again, one more time, I have been to Michigan in the last 4 Michigan races, and I've been there 5 times in person now, all since the repave. And I thought that this was the best race. And I thought last year the racing with this package slightly enhanced the racing at Michigan from the year prior. Despite, less horsepower, less speeds, it seemed like the draft played a big factor. But today, unlike those last 2 races last year, the clean air did still play a factor. It's going to play a factor no matter what. No matter what kind of racing it is, it usually plays a factor, especially on these longer racetracks like Michigan, where there's more aero dependency. But the difference between this race and other races, it just seemed like the cars were more unstable sliding around the track. And again, that had to have been because of the lack of rubber. It was a little warmer outside, but the conditions weren't really as different as what they would have been in last year's August race. And I think that also played into Harvick's wheelhouse. But again, sorry, going off on a tangent a little bit, but it goes to show how great this race was. I think this is the best Michigan race I've seen in a while, especially, again, with it being my home track and going there for the last couple of years. But take a look at the finishing results right now. So here is a look at the finishing results here in this race today. So Kevin Harvick, P1, Brad Keselowski, second, came so close. Again, 0 for 22 at this racetrack, with this being his home track, Michigan. He wants to win here so badly, but he definitely was in the top 10 throughout the course of the day, one of the better cars. Martin Truex Jr. Had a little bit of an issue with the flat tire back in stage 1. He fell a lap down, so he didn't score any stage points today, but you can tell he had a fast car. He was able to get with track position with a no-tire pit stop strategy late in the race to get up to third, and he was able to keep the track position with great restarts and just the raw speed in that car, so it'll be on the radar for tomorrow as well. Blaney was in the top 5 most of the day, fell back with a 4-tire stop, but again, gained that track position because we had a lot of restarts, excuse me, and a lot of time for him to gain those spots. Restart after restart. It definitely panned out for him. That's what he needed with that 4-tire strategy there at the very end. Again, it was a questionable call for him and Legato to do that, but it ended up working out for him in the end. They gained spots out of it. And I thought he might have had a shot to win it if he could have just gotten to second place on a restart. I think the 4 tires would have worked out versus Harvick's 2. Even with Harvick having the faster car, you see it almost worked out for Keselowski because he also had 4 fresh tires, but not as fresh as Blaney's car. Kyle Busch rounds out the top 5. Then you got Denny. And by the way, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick had a little bit of an incident when battling for the lead off of one of the final restarts of the race. Kyle Busch was leading off of turn 4. Harvick was working his way through the first couple cars that had stayed out. after the last set of pit stops, or every one of the leaders at least came down. And Kevin Harvick got into the left rear corner panel of Kyle Busch's car, sent him loose. Might not have touched him, might have been a little bit of error in there, but he definitely got really close, and it definitely affected the handling of the 18, that is for sure. But he did come back up to 5th place after quickly falling outside of the top 10. It's a great run for Kyle Busch, nevertheless. He was up front in the top 5 most of the day as well. Again, Hamlin 6th. Chase Elliott 7th. He was getting better and better as the race progressed on and had a shot, obviously, to win late, taking the lead on that third to last restart, but then ended up losing it on the next one, but still got a top 10 at 7th. Joey Logano in 8th. Bubba Wallace with an outstanding performance in 9th. Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. We'll take a quick look at the running order towards the back, see who all DNF'd. Joey Gase, Brendan Poole, John Hunter Nemechek, notably, had gotten 3 single-car accidents today. Tough break for John Hunter Nemechek. I definitely feel for him, and after the third time, I was telling the TV screen to my friend that was at my house watching the race, too, that, yeah, you should probably park it right now, and that's what he ended up doing. He backed it into the wall the third time, really finished it off, but the first 2 spins off of turn number 4, spinning through the infield grass. It just wasn't a good day for him. Cole Custer got in a hard accident late, actually brought out a red flag because there was possible fluid on the track in the late going with just a handful of laps also, so he DNF'd. But yeah, a lot of wrecks late. Newman and Austin Dillon, as I mentioned, they got in an accident late, but they still finished the race. And that is going to do it for the finishing results. So let's take a look at how the fantasy team did. All right, so let's take a look at the fantasy team and how they did throughout the course of the race here today. So I had a tough decision to make. I didn't think Martin Truex Jr. was going to be able to get the track position back for the final stage. Like I mentioned, he was a lap down for most of the race after having a flat tire in stage 1, and he didn't have any stage points to show for. But Eric Almirola was pretty much outside the top 25 all day. He only finished 16th because of the late race cautions, and he was able to gain spots there. But if it wasn't for that, Almirola was definitely not deserving of even a 16th place finish today. Definitely the worst performance he's probably had in a little over 2 months, and that breaks the top 10 streak he had of, I believe, 8 or 9 races, with 5 of those being inside the top 5. So tough break for Almirola today, but you knew he had to be due. Very awkward that happened, knowing that Harvick had as fast of a car and has had as fast of cars at this racetrack beforehand. But yeah, that's definitely interesting to say the least. So a tough break there. That would have been the only other change. At the time, I was actually debating on Logano or Truex because Logano was just not having a good day either. But I should have put Almirola in the garage. That's definitely my fault. Hindsight's always 20/20, but I probably should have done that anyway. Martin Truex Jr., so again, left on the garage. He had 34 points. Ryan Blaney had a lot of stage points today, and not as many as maybe Kevin Harvick, but he had a tied for second most with Denny Hamlin as far as stage points are concerned. And I had both Blaney and Denny Hamlin on the team, so they both scored a lot. Keselowski had a lot of stage points also. Of course, finished second, so great run there also. And, even Logano still ended up coming back to finish 8th. Yeah, he didn't get a lot of stage points, but a top 10 is still good. So, I mean, really outside of Almirola, that was the only weak spot. But I did kind of make up for it because I got all 40 bonus points for predicting Harvick to not only win the race, but win each stage. And, of course, Ford got the victory lane. So that helped out a ton. Quick look at the standings for the Fantasy League. The NASCAR Weekly Podcast League, of course, and ended up 5th again for this week. So on a roll there for sure. Should move up in the overall rankings. Again, considered Harvick wasn't on my team because I've used him too many times already, but I did get 40 bonus points out of him, so that definitely helped, and he had the most points by far. Obviously, max points, 60-point day. And then I had 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 8th in the garage, unfortunately, but 10th. And again, Almirola, the only weak spot, 17th as far as points scored today. But that is going to do it here for this one. Comment down below. What were your thoughts on the race here today at Michigan? Again, I thought it was probably the best Michigan race I think I've seen in years, at least since the repave. To be quite honest, no matter what package you use here, I think the track is coming into play, and it makes me excited to watch tomorrow's race and go to future Michigan races again with it being my home track. But again, comment down below what was your thoughts on the race, maybe how your fantasy team did, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content such as videos like this. Hit the like button down below if you enjoyed, and I'll be back with another predictions video and post-race analysis for the Michigan race tomorrow afternoon, as well as full race NASCAR Heat 5 live streams, a couple of them within that span also. So busy weekend here on the channel. Hope to see you guys soon, and have a good rest of your night.